Hello, today we will be learning about pictographs. Now, pictograph uses pictures to represent data. And let me show you what that means. Uses pictures to represent data. And by the word graph here, graph means a visual representation of data. Okay, so let me give you an example of a pictograph. I think that way it's easier to explain. So I'm going to draw a pictograph here. Number of cookies baked by my classmates. All right, and we'll have something like this. On this side, let's put some names for my classmates. We have George. We have Sarah. And we have Kevin. Right, and let's see here. We have one. These are supposed to be cookies. They kind of look like soccer balls here. Okay, and here. So I'm drawing a pictograph here. And let's see what this pictograph means. Okay, so first of all, we have this right here. Number of cookies baked by my classmate. So this is called the title. And the title tells us what this pictograph is about. So it's giving us information on how many cookies were baked by my classmates. Okay, so you can know what this pictograph is about by the title. On this side here, we have 3 people. Okay, this is called the label. And these are the information represented by these people here. Or I should say the data, the label shows who the data is related to. Okay, so we know that the first data here is related with George, the second data here is related with Sarah, and the third data here is related with Kevin. Okay, and on this side we have the actual data here. So we can see that George has 3 pictures, Sarah has 4 pictures, and Kevin has 2 pictures. And what do these pictures mean? And that's what we have this for. Okay, this is called the key or the scale. Okay, it tells you that 1 picture means 5 cookies. Okay, so if you're looking at the title, we can see that this is the number of cookies baked by my classmates. So I have my classmates over on this side. And from this pictograph, I can see that George baked 3 of these pictures, but each of these pictures are 5 cookies. Right? So we can see that George baked 15 cookies. We can use the same scale for Sarah and see that that's 5, that's another 5, that's 5, and that's 5. So Sarah baked 20 cookies. And Kevin here baked 5 and 5. So Kevin baked 10 cookies. Okay, so notice how we are using the information represented here. We are using the title to know what this data is about. We're using the label on the left to see who this data is related to. And we're using the scale in the bottom to interpret the data. Okay, so what do these cookies here mean? So this actually doesn't mean that George baked 3 cookies. It's using one picture to represent 5 cookies because if George baked 15 cookies, it's really tedious to draw 15 of these cookies. So instead of drawing 15 of these, we just set 1 equal to 5 and just draw 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and try. So this time I'm going to give you the information, and I want you to try and make a pictograph based on that information. So let's move down a little bit this way. Okay, so we have information on the number of, on the number of books read by my classmates. And we have that Tom read 2 books. Alfred read 6 books. And Rachel read 4 books. So how can we display this information on a pictograph? So first of all, our pictograph is going to look something like this. And let's think what the title of this should be. So what is this information about? And this information is about the number of books read by my classmates. Okay, so that should be the title. Let me just make it a bit shorter. So I can just say books read by my classmates. Okay, so that's going to be our title. And what should we have as the label on this side? Well, we have 3 different people here. We have 3 different people. Tom, Alfred, and Rachel. So let's put those 3 people over here. Tom, Alfred, and Rachel. Okay, and then for each of these people, we have data. So Tom read 2 books, Alfred read 6 books, Rachel read 4 books. So we are going to display the data according to what we have. We can either use 2 pictures here, because Tom read 2 books, right? Tom read 2 books. So we can use 2 pictures here, 6 pictures here, and 4 pictures here. But since they are all divisible by 2, we can even have 1 picture equal to 2 books and make this simpler. So we only need to draw 1 for Tom because 1 picture is equal to 2 books. We can only draw 3 for Alfred, and we can only draw 2 for Rachel. So let's actually draw a picture here instead of just lines. So let's draw a picture of a book. That's a closed book. So that's going to be, this picture is going to represent 2 books. Right? So let's draw that same picture. Don't make the picture too complicated because you'll have to draw a few of them on the graph, and it's going to be harder to do if the picture is too complicated. So we have 1 for Tom, we have 3 for Alfred, We have 2 for Rachel. Okay, so now from this pictograph we can see Tom read one picture. So one picture represents 2 books here. So we can see that Tom read 2 books, Alfred read 2, 2, 4, 6. So 6 books, and Rachel read 4 books. Okay, so I'm writing these numbers here just to remind you that each picture means 2 books. So this is how you would draw a pictograph. Now, a few rules about drawing a pictograph. Make sure you are using the same picture for all of these. Okay, so I've used the same picture here. And the reason for that is if I draw a picture like this for Tom, but then I change the drawing of the book to something like this for Alfred, that gets a bit more confusing because on this pictograph here, since all the pictures are the same, we can know straight away who read the most books, who read the least books, how many books did each of them read. But if we start changing the pictures like this, we're going to start needing new scales for these kind of pictures. So that complicates things more. So, oops. Nope. All right, so make sure you're using the same picture. And another thing is make sure that you are lining up the pictures nicely. Like here, my first picture is lined up with all the other first pictures. My second picture is lined up with the second picture. My third picture is lined up. There's no other third picture for Tom and Rachel here, but make sure that the books are lined up nicely. Or the pictures, make sure that they are lined up nicely because it's much easier to compare once they're lined up. It's kind of like decimals. When you have 2.36 and then 16.5, it's much easier to do things with it once you line up the decimal. And it's same with the data. So if you don't line up the pictures, like if you have 3 over here, and then you have 2 over here, but if you're lining them up like this, oops, or if you have 4 over on this side and then 3 over on this side, if you're lining up like this, it doesn't matter too much with smaller amounts of data, but if the picture gets, or if the books get really big, and if there's more data, then it gets really harder to compare. So you need to be neat when working with pictographs or with any other graphs, really. Okay, so make sure that you're lining up the pictures nicely. Make sure that you're using the same picture. And most importantly, make sure that your scales are worked right and that you have the proper amount of data for each of the people in your label. So this is how you would draw a pictograph.